Hi, my name's Stuart Lynch, and in this video, I'd like to show you how you can create your own version of the Xcode file headers. You know, those comments that are at the top of every file that's created within Xcode. Now, this isn't going to help your development any, but it means that you can be more specific about what you want in that header, and when you share your code, you can even add links here where people can contact you. Now, if this is something you want to learn, then keep watching. I love getting your feedback, so tap the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video and leave me a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and ring that bell to get notifications whenever I release a new video. And if you want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee. A link is in the description. There is no starter project or completed project for this video, but I do recommend that you work along with me as I go through this topic. By doing so, you'll get a better understanding and the concepts will be much more clear in the end. There is very little typing. The first thing I want to do is to create a new Xcode project, and I'm going to call it Header Template Test. The header text of a file is what is displayed at the top of every file when the files are created. You can see that the default is to display a blank line followed by the file name, another blank line, and then the text created by your account name and the date. And in the launch app location, where it's app main, it also includes the application name. Well, what I want to show you in this video is how you can control that text in your own applications. Here's an example of one of my applications, and you see that I have my own unique header, including all of my contact information. Here's one from Codeco, and it's just showing a copyright and a bunch of text with no other identifiers. The identifiers that display things like file name and your name are text macros, and we'll get to those shortly. But in order to customize this text, we have to create a property list. So from the File menu, choose New File, and then search for and create a new property list file. We'll call it IDETemplateMacros. It exactly has to be that, IDETemplateMacros. And then when it's opened, we can add a new single key by tapping the plus button on the root. You can call the key File Header, and the type is a string, and then just add a string, like in my case, Stuart Lynch project. Now, this template file is actually useless here, and it won't be recognized by Xcode. I just did it here so that I could easily create a plist file in the right format. And if you right-click on this file and choose Open as Source Code, you'll see that it is a specially formatted XML file, and we can either edit it here or in any text editor. Now, since this is no good to me here, I'm going to locate it in the Finder and move it out to my desktop. And of course, this will delete it from the project, so we'll delete the red placeholder there too. Let me quit Xcode now. Now, in order to easily edit this file, I'm going to drag an alias of the text edit application onto the desktop. So I'm going to open the applications folder and locate text edit. And then I can hold the Option key down and drag it to move an alias onto my desktop. So now when I drag that IDETemplateMacros plist file onto TextEdit, it opens, and I can keep it open and edit as we go through the tutorial. And I'm just going to increase the size of the text. Now, keeping this file on the desktop is no good to us either, so where should it go? Well, there are 5 locations that we can possibly place this. In this document by Apple, I'll leave a link in the description, it provides us with a list of those 5 different locations in order of priority, meaning it will find and use the first IDETemplateMacros plist file that it finds in that order. Now, I'm going to be looking at this location first, and I'll talk about the other 4 as I go. The Xcode proj file for our application, it doesn't look like a folder, but in fact it is. If you right-click on that Xcode Proj file, you can choose Show Package Contents. And within there, you'll see an XC user data folder in that location. And inside there, you'll find an XC user data D folder for your user ID. Now, if you store that template file in that folder alongside the XC schemes folder, it will be used by you in this project. Now, you could create an XC shared D data folder at the same location as the XC user data and copy it there to ensure that all members of a team can use it. But my focus is on individual users, so we'll not be working on a team. So I'm just going to move that file into that XC user data folder. Similarly, if there were a workspace and you wanted to apply the template to all of the projects in the workspace, either for a single or shared users, you could show the contents of the XC workspace contents folder and do the same. And I've covered workspaces in this video. But I'm going to stick here with this Xcode Proj file. Now I'll come back to the global one later. Now every time you make a change to that file, you'll need to restart Xcode. So to make things easier, I'm going to drag an alias of that Xcode Proj file out onto the desktop. So now I can simply launch Xcode and that application project by double-clicking on it. Now you'll notice when I do that, nothing changed with those existing headers. But let's create a new file. And you can call it anything you want. But when you do, you'll see that new header is displayed. It's just displaying your string after the two comment slashes. Well, we're ready to get a bit more creative. So I'm going to delete this file here and quit Xcode. Remember, every time we modify that template, we're going to have to restart Xcode. So your template file should still be open. And if you enter a return after opening that first string delimiter, and then another one afterwards so that it looks something like this, we can save and relaunch Xcode. And once again, we'll create a new file. This time you'll get that blank comment and that string is following, but you get an error because the string Stuart Lynch project is not a comment. It's on its own without the preceding two forward slashes. So let's delete that file and quit Xcode once more. And I'm going to return to my template file and I'm going to make sure that I have two forward slashes in front of my string. Means that each subsequent line after that string delimiter opener must have a comment designation. So this would be the correct way to do this. But what Xcode provides for us is a set of macros that we can use in our template. And if I open this file from Apple, again, I'll leave a link in the description, we could use any one of these macros. And you can read what they do, but we'll get to that shortly. The ones that I'm going to use are these three: the full username, the file name, and the date macros. So instead of hard coding my name, I could simply use full username, but the macro has to be in all caps and surrounded by 3 underscores. Then let's enter a new line, and remember we start with a comment, and then we'll provide the macro file name, 3 underscores on either side, followed by the string created on, and then I'll use the date macro, again surrounded by the 3 underscore characters. So I can save then and launch the project once more. Again, no changes to the existing file, but if I create a new file now, I can just call it whatever I want. I get to see that new header. Okay, then let's check out what those other macros represent. So I'm going to delete this file and quit Xcode once more. Now, in order to get a better idea as to what each of those macros display, I've created a gist. Again, I'll leave a link in the description. Now, if you open the raw content, you can copy the comments, return to your text edit, and replace all of the comments with these copied ones. Make sure you're between the 2 string delimiters. Next then, launch Xcode and create a new file. For the most part, you'll be able to determine by the results what each macro generates. They're pretty self-explanatory. In the fifth section here, though, it looks like they're pretty much redundant, but each one refers to either a workspace, a product, a package, or a target. Now, since our file only has a single target and it's not within a workspace, it generates the same value. However, if you were to have multiple targets in a project that isn't a workspace, and you created a file for a specific target, you would get different strings being displayed here. It's the organization name and the copyright that puzzled me. For the organization name, it's showing me just the macro name. And for copyright, it's missing entirely. It turns out both are related. If there is no organization set, the copyright is omitted entirely, and the organization name field is displayed as the macro name. Now, in order to enter an organization name for a project, you'll need to reveal the inspector, and then select the project and the File Inspector tab. And then you'll see a field for organization where you can enter your organization name. So let me enter mine. Now, there's no need to quit Xcode because we haven't updated the template, but we can delete that file and recreate it. Now you see the organization name and the copyright. Okay, now that we see that we can use these macros and what they are, let's create our own custom header. So let's delete this file and quit Xcode. So let's start over then by creating our own custom macro. I'll start with a string original project in the comment, and I'm going to follow that with the project name macro. Remember, surrounded by 3 underscores. Then on another line, I'll start with the comment and the string created on. Then I'll specify the date macro, the string by, and then the full username macro. Next, on another line, I want to provide my link to my Mastodon account so that anybody reading my code will know how to reach me. So I can do that right here. And then as a separator, I'm going to follow that with simply a dashed line. And then below that, I'll just display the full copyright. So let me save that. And I'm going to open Xcode once more. And for the test, I'll create a new file. Okay, this is looking pretty much the way I expected. So let's delete the file and quit Xcode. I'm going to create my own macro this time by simply adding another key to this template. So above the file header key, I'm going to create a new key called divider. So we'll use the XML delimiters for key, and in there, add the divider in capital letters. Now the type is going to be a string. So we'll just enter the 2 string delimiters. And since I don't want any line breaks in between these 2 string delimiters, I'm just going to cut out the divider line in my code and paste it right in line right here between the 2 strings. Well, now we can use that divider macro in our file header string. And since it already includes the comment, we can just use the divider with the 3 underscores surrounding it. And I can also add another divider. How about adding one right at the top? All right, save it and let's open Xcode. and I'm going to create a new file for our project. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Well, this is great, but there are some problems as far as I can tell. The original files when I create the app still have the original header. That was the one where the app main is and content view. And in order for the copyright to be displayed properly, I had to enter our organization name. And I have to add that template to every single new project. Now, since I'm an independent developer, I want that same header in all of my projects so that when I create a new one, the entry is already there. Now, if I wanted a unique header, I can always add it to the Xcode proj file. But if I want it to apply to everywhere, I need to provide a global location for it. So let's quit Xcode. What you need to do is to open your library folder on your Mac. Now, if the library is not shown as an option in the Finder's Go menu, open your home folder, and you can use Command-Shift-H if you want, and then choose View, Show View Options, and make sure you check Show Library Folder. And that'll make the library folder now visible from the Go menu. And you can also use Command-Shift-L if you're at your Finder. Now within your library, locate the Developer folder. And inside there, you'll find the Xcode folder. And if you open it, you'll find the User Data folder. Well, what you can do is simply move that headers file into there. So let me find that original file once more. Remember, you right-click on the Xcode proj file of your project, choose Show Package Contents, open the XC User Data folder, open your user folder, and that's where we placed it. So let's move it from there right into that global location in my library. Okay, so let me open Xcode now, and I'm going to create a brand new project. And I'll call it something like Global Test. Well, now you see the header is our custom one, but it's missing the copyright because I haven't got an organization name. So at this point, unless I'm mistaken, please correct me if I am, you'd still have to enter the organization name in the project for it to be displayed on all new files. However, since I'm an independent developer and my organization name will always be the same, I'm going to hard code my copyright directly in my template. So let's quit this project. And I can still edit my IDETemplateMacros plist file because it's still pointing to the one even after I've moved it. And I'm going to replace this copyright macro with the string copyright, followed by using a Option G to get that copyright symbol. And then I'll follow that with the year macro. And then hard code my company name and the string all rights reserved. And I'm going to create a new project. I'm just going to call it the same, so I want to overwrite that old one. And now when I create a new app, I get my template displaying everything I need for all files. There's just one more thing that I want to cover, and this might not apply to everyone, so feel free to stop this video now if it doesn't apply. Now, I'm fortunate enough to own two Macs. I have a Mac Mini and I have a MacBook Air, and I want to be able to have that same header file used on both of my Macs. And if I update that file, I want both computers to take advantage of that. And this technique I showed in one of my first videos that I ever did on sharing snippets between computers. I'll leave a link to that video in the description as well. Now, if you're using iCloud Drive, you can create a folder there and store the template file in there and then use a symbolic link to point to it from both your computers. So the original file is a single file in your iCloud Drive. So let me show you. First, let me organize our windows. Next, create a new window with Command-N and then use the Go menu to switch that to your library. And when the library is open, navigate to the developer folder and the Xcode in the user data folder. And then organize your windows so that you can see both. In the iCloud Drive folder, you can create a new folder in there and call it something like Xcode Shared. Next, you can move the IDETemplateMacros plist file from the developer's Xcode user data directory into that folder. So keep both windows open and then open a new terminal window. To create a symbolic link, you simply type ln space -s with another space. And then what we can do is drag that original file that's now in our shared folder onto the terminal window. And it'll automatically leave a space after that so that you can drag your user data folder from your library developer Xcode folder right after that. And then press enter. So what that's going to do is it's going to create a symbolic link to that IDETemplateMacros plist into your Xcode user data folder in your library. And you'll see that symbolic link will appear in that folder. And then you'd go to each one of your computers then that has access to that iCloud drive and do exactly the same thing. Create a symbolic link to your user library's developer Xcode user data folder. So now if I create a brand new project, as I'm doing here, no matter what computer I'm using, I'm going to get that header template. Well, I hope you've learned something from this tutorial that you can use for your own projects. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a comment and give it a thumbs up. And be sure to subscribe to my channel to get notifications when I release new content. And also be sure to download my free channel listing app from Gumroad so that you can get quick, searchable access to all of my content and watch my videos within the app. I'll leave a link again in the description. Thanks for watching.